Uh, all right. Looks like I'm recording. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I guess I'm just gonna tell my story. My name is Seth. I'm a professional cryptid hunter. Well, I say professional, but that's because I don't really have a job. So you could say my hobby is my profession, I guess. I've always had a love for cryptids, as well as the paranormal, or just unexplained stuff. I probably watched too many low-budget documentaries about modern myths and aliens. Or reality shows where a bunch of hillbillies hunt Bigfoot. For the record, that's not really my thing. Though I have been on an excursion or three. Didn't find Bigfoot, but almost did get eaten by a bear, and had a close encounter with a wild man in Appalachia. I've spent a lot of time sitting in the dark in the woods and creeping around cornfields and farmland, nearly getting shot for trespassing on, well, several occasions. Not to mention all the creeping and crawling I've done doing some old-fashioned urban exploration. None of that has ever really led to anything. And honestly, I've been fine with that. It's still fun. It's still thrilling. And it's still a good time. But finally, the other night, I had an encounter unlike anything I've dreamed of. It was... Well, it's going to sound like I'm out of my damn mind when I tell the story anyway, so I guess I'll just be blunt about it. I believe I was a witness to some sort of interdimensional portal opening, and creatures of all sorts came through. And I think it was my fault. Or maybe fault isn't the right word. My belief and my desire for these creatures may have served as the catalyst for their passage into our world. I know how it sounds. You don't have to believe me. I just think this needs to be documented. That, and, well, I haven't told anybody. I don't really have anybody to tell. I felt like something's been calling to me, this desire for adventure and discovery. But maybe that's the isolation getting to me. The lack of friends, family, that sort of thing. But for a while, something's been off. And I felt drawn to a place I've often gone hiking, camping. It's a quaint little place. There's flowers and berries, a nice little fishing hole. But there's also a path that veers deeper into the woods. And I've only gone there once. Never again. Out there, I found a cave. And it just looked like any other cave. There's nothing really extraordinary about it. On the surface, at least. But the first time I laid eyes on it, something in my guts told me that it wasn't right. Like my DNA. The way that evolution has taught us to innately understand what a predator looks like. My bones were on fire, telling me I needed to get the hell away. So I ran, and never bothered going that way again. Because, the rest of the trail is wonderful. I never felt any weird vibes being there. In fact, there's an eerie comfort to that beaten path. It's like it's straight out of a storybook. So I forgot all about it and never once thought about going back to that cave. Until one night, I was camping not far from there. Put out the campfire and laid under the stars. Then I heard it. A voice, soft and gentle, speaking in tongues beyond my recognition, but their meaning, it was seared into my chest. Come, come and witness, come and see, beckoning me like a siren's song. I knew where my legs were taking me. I knew that this place once terrified me, but that knowledge didn't mean a damn thing. All of my fear was washed away by this warm invitation and the feeling that finally, after seeking something spectacular, something special, a revelation awaited me. And it did. Arcane runes were carved crudely along the walls, and I was guided deeper, glowing in this unnatural crackling energy. The walls pulsated purple and red and wrong. By the time any of my sense came back to me, I was far too deep to turn back. Nor could I, even if I tried, because I felt in my core that I was right where I needed to be. I felt like everything was where it needed to be. In the midst of an opening, beams of moonlight were trickling through the cracks in the ceiling of the cave. And there was this crude garden of withered vines where something once grew right in the middle of this patchwork alchemist's room. There were jars and vials filled with things. There were potions and brews, and I didn't understand anything. I didn't know what I was seeing. Until I saw it. I knew something was watching me, waiting. And then there it was, stepping into the light. Some sort of plant beast. And from it I heard the most soothing voice in my head. But only in my head. It walked on 4 stubby legs, almost like a turtle. Vines were writhing and waving around it, looking at me, but not with eyes. Beneath this shrubby bush, at what I could only assume was its head, there was a mouth and a long, dripping wet tongue. I know this might sound crazy, but it was almost cute. The circumstances wouldn't let me dare to call it that in the moment, though. What followed was foolish. I don't have an excuse. I've always found the idea of monsters appealing, you see. And somehow it knew that there were... It's embarrassing, even just talking to this recording. It knew that there were desires in my heart, locked away, secret dreams of taking part in some sort of unnatural union between creature and man, if you catch my drift. So, it seemed that this plant beast thing, with its vines and techniques, was able to drain me of my essence. Not just in the literal sense, but my wishes and my dreams, too. When it was done with me, I was so exhausted I began to fade quickly. But as I teetered between consciousness and this dreamlike state, I saw someone enter. Someone who knew and commanded this thing. And with it, he was able to create some sort of tear in reality that allowed for so many things I've only ever dreamed of to pass through to our side. When I woke up, I was back at my campsite. My clothes were no longer torn, but I felt drained, exhausted in the way that one might be exhausted after the sort of romp that I experienced. It couldn't have been a dream. I went to the cave, or where the cave should have been, and then there was nothing. It was just a hillside. But I know what happened, and I know that now there are things walking the earth that are here because of me and my own indiscretion, and because of that man, the one in the cave. So I'll find answers, and I'll do what I have to do to track down and document these things. And I'll try to just document them. All right, yeah. I've talked long enough. What a mess. If you're hearing this, well, hell, I don't know. Sorry.